several weeks ago, Sister Jackie, that many of us are discouraged. And it's not every day, but it's becoming a monopolizing element. Some are dejected, some are rejecting. So as you can see that I've been talking about for the last 3 or 4 weeks, a practicing believer. That is, if you're going to be an attorney, you need to be a practicing. If you're going to be a doctor, you've got to be a practicing doctor or practicing medicine. Amen? And then I have given you a message that says that blessings come from God because He wants you to be, what? Happy. Amen? And the circumstances will not allow you and me to be happy all the time unless we have joy in the happiness. Amen? I learned last night when I didn't fight back that I needed to get across the street and get in a hotel and get a wake-up call for this morning. And he said, there's a Jack in a Box across the street. And I said, no, that's my wife's Mother's Day. But all of the passengers were looking at me because I had already said that I'm going to be preaching tomorrow morning. And even in the restaurant, they were saying, Pastor, would you pray for me? Now that could have been an ugly scene. But I have long since learned that you don't sit in an airport with all of the hatred, fussing and cussing at the clerks because they can't fly one plane. Amen? And all you're going to do is to sit there and be miserable. We got the witness. So even though I didn't know that I would run into what I ran into, I asked the portion to pray me home. But I had no idea that the plane wasn't going to leave to come to Orlando. I want to talk to you about how to rid yourselves of the world's most deadly killer, stress. It'll take your eyesight out. It will do some things to you. It's worse than a termite. Because a termite will do everything under cover. And then one day when you knock on wood, now we got a witness. Now when you believe, Brother Mulroney, that God has already prescribed a way to deal with stressfulness, that is the issue of not being happy. So Second Chronicles, the 14th chapter, will begin to tell you how to deal with stress. Look at the second verse and then as you're saying. Oh, there it is. In the second verse. Asa. Well, when I was playing Big Wiz and I would get an ace, I said, I'm an ace to this thing. Did what was what? And in the that will, can't you see the stress just moving away? Look what he says. He removed what? And the high place. And he all right. Let's do the 6th and 7th verse. Victoria, thank you for being here. We'll go back to the 5th verse. All right. He removed the high places and incense altars in every town in Judah, and the kingdom was. Did y'all hear what you said? And the kingdom was what? At peace. I would have loved to have been preaching in that dispensation, because I would have a congregation whose members would be at peace. He built up the fortified cities of Judah since the land was at peace. You can build when you're not under such stress. And that no one was at war with him during those years. For the sit down if you can. And no matter what you do, and no matter what you know, you can't get rest on your own. Has anybody like me? Sometimes when you just have so much on your mind, you just can't get no rest. Even your My Pillow doesn't work. Amen. It is that even when you go to the kitchen and you get a carton of milk, it doesn't work. God is the only one that can give you rest. And we're going to see just what God has to say when we consider the subject of this feeble message is, what does peace have to do with it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We spend more time trying to get peace. We beat ourselves up. We abuse ourselves trying to have some peace. And Sister Grace, it's because psychologically and emotionally we don't understand the quality of peace. We think that, and the people in Israel and those in Gaza this morning, do you know if you were to talk to either side, they would say, we want Yeah, and the reason why these truths, the truths that have been called, only happens for just an hour or two, because no one really understands what peace is. Have we got a witness? And we plant a church, and we've been here for 5 years, and all of us who have been in trouble situations will say for the first time is that we want peace. I don't want to come to church and have all of these things happening in church. That's why I come to church, so that I can get peace. Have I got a witness? Well, I want to tell you this morning is that the Lord has convinced me as to the quality of peace and how it's initiated and how, in fact, it spreads through the congregation. And peace is more than the absence of war.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And typically, when one defines peace, they're saying that's when no one is knocking each other out. Amen. Well, that's not what the word says. Because Asa,
Yes, sir.
who was king, actually, he was just a few years beyond the age of 12. And he took the reins from his father, Abijah, who had been the king for almost 3 years. But all of that time, they were engaged in war. Now we got to realize every male was worn out because of the war-torn situation. It's just like it is today in Israel. And the place that we're talking about was just a few miles from where you hear every day the fighting is going on. Children are being slain. Even the emergency workers, ambulance drivers, are being killed in the same general area that we're talking about today. Amen. Even the UN personnel is being killed.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
In the land in which Jesus walked. Have we ever witnessed? Somebody needs to be asking the question, why is it that in Israel, where he was not only born but walked, that every other day or every other month we hear that there is no peace? Have we ever witnessed? Well, the very first thing I want to tell you and tell you with all clarity is that where there is a crisis, Christ isn't. Oh, I think I need to say that again. When you see a crisis, Christ isn't there. And I stopped in to tell you this morning in 3 short points that you and I need to understand that peace has everything to do with it. And you can't wait until the fighting stops before you can have peace. You can't wait, as we said last Sunday, until everything gets right before you can say, I'm blessed. What are you saying, Pastor? with all clarity is that peace becomes a factor and a reality long before the fighting starts.
Yes, sir.
If you are going to have peace, and if I'm going to have peace, you've got to wake up in the morning and say, I'm going to have peace. You can't wait until the other side lays down their weapon, right? You can't wait until they stop talking about you. Yeah. If you would stop talking about me, then we'd have some peace. No. Peace is a predecessor for all the things in which you and I want to be serene. Have I got a witness? And we see here in the 37-year reign of Asa, a way in which the Lord grants peace. And what is the first line of the second verse of chapter 14 of 2nd Chronicles? Asa did.
Yes, sir.
Asa did.
Yes, sir.
You can't be blessed until you do something. You can't sit back and say, Lord, just bless me. Until you do something.
Yes, sir.
He wants us to do something. The Lord is, I'll say this metaphorically, is that the Lord is sick and tired of us closing, that is, folding our arms on Him. Saying now, Lord, bless me. Well, what's with that? Why don't you do something and the Lord will bless you? Amen? There had been 400,000 men that his father, Abijah, had used to fight a battle. And every one of them was defeated.
Yes, sir.
And so by the time that it got to Asa's reign, and of course he was just 12, a little bit more, and when he became king, everybody was ready for something. But since his grandmother was the queen of idol gods, listen to me now. And because there were things that the God that you and I serve, Yahweh, had been frowning on and had been looking at, and Asa says, I can't do the same thing that my father did. I wish I had someone. Isn't it time for us to recognize that everything that our family did and seemingly was okay, but when it was not in the Word of God, we sometimes have to step out and change it. Have I got a witness? I was remarking to my wife is that we've got a large family, San Antonio, Austin, Houston, and our family came down from Dallas. But there's very few strong believers in my family. They go to church.